joining us, St. Louis. This is What Retirement Means to You with financial advisor Jerry Means. He's the founder of the Means Financial Group. I am Spike Spengel, and today on the program, your retirement reality check. What do you need to be thinking about to make sure that you can be and stay retired? Jerry, this sounds like a lot of fun today. Yeah. Well, what are some of the things that you like to talk about with folks before we even get into the reality check about feeling like they're behind? Do you ever have folks who feel like they're never going to be able to retire?
Yeah, I do. I've had people, well, some people don't ever want to retire, but their health might give them a different option, right? But I do have people that come in and they say, Jerry, I'm kind of embarrassed to come in and see you because I don't even know if I have enough to talk to you. I'll hear that a lot. And it's funny because it's not, we're here to help people. My goal has always been to leave people better than I found them, and if you do that, it seems to come back tenfold. Mm-hmm. So when someone comes in, I tell them, don't worry about that. Just come in, sit down and have a conversation with us. And more times than not, I'm able to show them that maybe they can retire. They just didn't think they were able to because there was strategies or things that they hadn't considered. And that's why it's so important to do financial reviews and to come in and have those conversations, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. And especially if you are still working, maybe you have 2 or 3 or 4 more years, there's a lot you can do. You have everything from catch-up contributions. You have income-producing tools that you could maybe start on a time clock. It's not too late to get started, is it?
No, it's never too late. The thing is to get started. That's the key. And it's really key to know your numbers. People will come in and it doesn't matter what amount of money they have. They'll ask me, hey, am I okay to retire? That's what I'm here for. And I'll start asking questions. Well, what is your monthly spend? What are you going to be spending in retirement, do you think, in the first 2 or 3 years or in the back end of your retirement? When is your home going to be paid for? And a lot of times people don't have those numbers. So I have a sheet that they can use that kind of helps jog their memory of what some of the costs are. We have obvious things like we've always talked about, the mug, right? The mortgage, utility, groceries, those are all things to consider. But there's also things like, you're going to need a new car sometime in retirement. If your car's not brand new, what's the chances if you live 30 years in retirement, you're not going to need another car? So you have to consider that. But really what we start with is looking at, okay, what is your monthly spend? And a lot of people hate the word budget, so I like to say monthly spend, because budget feels a little bit confined.
Budget feels like a diet.
Right, exactly.
Budget feels like you getting off soda.
Right, yeah, 100%. By the way, I did.
I know, you've been doing very good.
But, the thing with that is that, for me to tell them if they're going to be able to retire, I need to know how much they're going to spend, and then we can work backwards. We can say, okay, this is what your Social Security is. This is what your pension is if you have one. What is the gap? What is the money that we need to fill that gap? Then we can look at assets and come up with different tools to fill that gap. And, I had a lady recently that's what happened. She came in and she said, I don't have a pension. I basically just have Social Security in my retirement account. She didn't have a lot in savings, but she had a decent sized retirement account. But as I started talking with her, she had got a new car and paid it off. Her home was paid for. And so basically she doesn't travel much. Her kids all live in town. Mm-hmm. So she really didn't have a lot of expenses outside of regular everyday living. And so by taking some of that money in her retirement plan, we were able to set up and make a liquidity fund for her in case she had an emergency. Mm-hmm. Then we built in an income strategy. And some of these income strategies, as you pointed to, can guarantee that you won't run out of money. So they're insurance products. It's like building your own personal pension plan. So you can put money into an annuity that can guarantee lifetime income. Some of those have doublers for long-term care. But we set up the income bucket to fill that, and it can't run out. So even if she uses all of the money in the annuity, they continue to pay her as long as she's breathing. Now, on the other end, we want to have a little bit of growth for the back end of her retirement for inflation and increased taxes and things like that. So we did have some of the money in the market to have a little bit more risk, so we have that growth on the back end.
If you would like a little bit of confidence for yourself, your own reality check on retirement, one thing we'll do is we'll bring up the phone number here. You can reach out, and you're not going to interrupt the program here. We have a secure call center. You can set up an appointment. We'll do your on-track retirement review. We'll give you your on-track retirement report. You'll leave the office with it. Action steps, how you're doing. You might be closer to retirement than you think, but it all starts very simply with a phone call. The reality check, though, is that what she is saying, I completely understand. She wasn't sure am I going to run out of money? How long is it going to last? You don't know how long she's going to live, but to come up with tools that will continue to pay income no matter how long she lives, that's a great way to start making sure that you don't have the income run out on you.
That's right. And the next person that comes into the office, we may come up with a completely different strategy for them because their situation is different. You know, I've had people also come in and they have $2 or $3 million and they say, Jerry, can I retire? And you know, the instinct is to say, well, sure, right? But then I start getting into the spending and the debt and everything that they have, and they're spending $200,000 a year and they want to maintain that lifestyle. Well, I'm not saying they can't retire, but it's not going to be as easy as maybe they thought, and we need to put some structured things in place to help protect those assets and make sure that they don't run out of money as well.
Right. The reality check as well is that you said that she had her retirement account, is that a lot of folks use, obviously, 401ks or 403bs or TSPs or 457s. In your opinion, as a financial advisor, the reality check is, are people using these well? Are they getting the most out of them to get them to their retirement years? Or do they end up coming to your doorstep and showing you their accounts and going, how'd I do? Can I retire?
I get both. So I have people come in and say, hey, Jerry, it's October, or you know, I'm retiring in January. You know, can you help me with my plan? Absolutely, I can do that. But it's a lot easier if they come to me sooner, right? And I have more time to establish that. One of the ways that we can do that is with in-service rollovers on 401ks. A lot of people don't realize that on their 401k at age 59 and a half, they're able, on most plans, almost all plans allow it these days, but I would say 80–90% of them offer it. They can roll the money out of their 401k into a traditional IRA. Now that's a tax-deferred transfer, so they're not going to get a 1099 at the end of the year for taxes. They might get a 1099-R, and it'll say no taxes is due because it was just a lateral move from one tax-deferred plan to another tax-deferred plan. But what that allows is for us to structure and build more different or more income plans inside of that IRA, because inside your 401k, number one, there are fees. People don't really understand that there's fees in their 401k. All the time, people will come and say, well, I'm not paying any fees in my IRA or in my 401k. I'm like, oh, you are. It's just harder to see them. And you see them in the performance. Other times people will say, you know, hey, I know what I have in my plan. I have this target date fund. And I'll say, well, what's inside the target date fund? Like, well, I don't know. It's a target date fund. But I'm able to look inside and know what really makes up that target date fund. And a lot of times it's not the right risk appropriated investment for them. But the thing is, in a 401k, you have 30, maybe 40 different investment choices. There are 16,000 mutual funds out there in the universe, over 60,000 US stocks. You've got bonds, annuities, the income planning annuities that we talked about, all of these tools that you can use inside of an IRA that you don't have inside of your 401k. So again, if you're at that age where you can move that money over, the reason that that is in place is so that you have more time to plan for your retirement. They realize at age 60, it's right around the corner, that you need more diversification, and that's why they allow you to roll that money out. It does not hurt the employer. You can still contribute. You can still get matching. You know, it was funny, I got an email this morning from a client of mine that said, hey, Jerry, I think it's time to sweep my account again, my 401k again, because that's a terminology that I use. We're going to sweep it out of the 401k, and we're going to sweep it into an IRA. And then as this builds up, we can come back and scoop it over, sweep it over again. I've got when my clients call me now and say, hey, I've gotten to a certain level in my 401k. I want to put it back over into our other plan. And they'll come in and we'll do that rollover because it's a pretty simple process. We can go through that in the next segment if you'd like to.
Yeah, we'll do a little bit of that. But I love that as well because you're continuing to work. You're getting the match from your employer. But then every now and then, especially so you can do these rollovers after the age of 59 and a half, find out from your service provider of your plan when you can do it. But then you get the advantage of having professional help on the outside for probably around the same, if not even lower, cost of what your current 401k plan is. So call the phone number right now. Let us help you do a review on all of the retirement accounts, the investment accounts that you're using to get you to your retirement. If you're already in retirement and you've never put together a plan, you call that phone number as well. We'll give all of you that on-track retirement review. 844-878-1293 is the phone number. More with Jerry Means right after this.
We're a pretty small boutique firm. When you come into our office, it really does have a family feel to it. My wife works in the office. My son works in the office as well. We also have our dog Maui. He's kind of the mascot. When you do come in, you meet our receptionist, Jen, and we call her the Director of First Impressions because she's great with people. We have a small building that I own. It's very easy to pull up and see us and walk in and get greeted right away. Something that I hear from a lot of people is they just feel comfortable. They feel like they're sitting down and sitting with a friend already. We just sit down with them and educate them and tell them about our services and what we do and how we do it and try to find out if we're a good fit. A lot of my staff is family. So it is a family business, and most people that come in, that's the most important thing to them is their family. So it's good for them to see that in our environment.
Welcome back to What Retirement Means to You with financial advisor Jerry Means. He's the founder of the Means Financial Group right here in the greater St. Louis area. We're trying to make sure that you make the right financial decisions in retirement. It's something we were talking about your 401k plan or whatever investment account that you've got that's helping you get to your retirement, 403b, 457, TSP for our government employees.
Correct.
But you don't want to just wait until the week before you want to retire to walk into somebody's office and go, how did I do? You actually can get management after the age of 59 and a half. But what are some of the things that we want to be aware of?
Well, first of all, I've told people about this rule, and they'll say, "Well, I'm gonna call my employer, or I'm gonna call my HR person, and I'm gonna ask them." And they'll say, "Well, my HR person said that we can't do that." And you have to understand that HR people are sometimes very, very overworked, and they don't always know all of the ins and outs of those 401k plans. So what I do is say, "Hey, let me call whoever the administrator of that plan is, whatever brokerage house that's holding that investment." And let me ask the questions with you on the phone. So, and I've had people that told me that their HR person said they can't do it. And I know that they can because I moved one of their coworkers last week at the same employer, right? But I do it for their benefit. And I actually will go through the prompt service, and that's the other thing, right? You have to go through the rigmarole of going through all of the different prompts.
Yeah, you sit there and you're waiting and you're wondering, and then you end up giving up on it, not getting the answer you want.
That happens a lot, yeah. So I know kind of how to speed through those dials and get to the right person, get them verified, and then say they're going to give permission to speak with me on the account. And I'm going to ask the questions, what is the account value? How much is pre-tax? How much is Roth if they have any? Is there any after-tax money in there? Because sometimes there's actual after-tax money that's not Roth, that's in the 401ks. I'm going to ask all of those questions, and I'm going to ask them, does it allow for in-service rollovers? And the majority of the time, they will say yes. And then I ask, is it a verbal liquidation or a paper liquidation? Because sometimes they require us to use their paperwork to roll that over into an IRA. Other times, it's literally a verbal liquidation where we talk on the phone, give permission to send the money to the IRA custodian that we're going to use. So I go through all of the steps on the speaker line with the client in the room so that they can hear everything that's being said. And then for their benefit at the end, I ask the questions. Can they still contribute to the plan? Can they still get their matching? Does this hurt the employer in any way? And I know the answers to all of those questions, but it's just to really make the client feel better.
Right. And speaking of that phone number, we have that phone number up right now. You can call that. We'll schedule an appointment for you, get your on-track retirement review. And you know what? Since you brought it up, I'm just going to ask, have you made those other kinds of phone calls with other things like Medicare? Can you shadow and help with phone calls with Social Security, even with insurance products or annuity products? Are you there to help them out, or are you just the investment advisor?
So we do all of those things, but on the Medicare and like Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, my wife handles that. She's licensed and she's in the office, so we're able to kind of set up a separate appointment for that, for them to just sit down and talk about that as well, because it's a lot. It's like drinking through a fire hose when you try to do everything all in one meeting, right? But you mentioned insurance products. Something interesting that I've done is there's something called a variable annuity. Not all annuities are created equal, but I'll have people come in and they'll say, Jerry, I've heard you talk on the radio show. I've heard you talk on the TV show about these, or a live event about these variable annuities. I'm not a big fan of them. They know that. And they'll say, I think I have one of these plans, but I'm not sure. But I am paying some fees, and I think I'm paying about 1.25% fees. I do the same thing that I do with the 401k company. We're not going to call the insurance agent that sold it to them, because that can be like a little bit of an awkward situation.
Yeah.
But I'll call the insurance carrier and say, okay, I'm Jerry Means. I'm a financial advisor. Joe or Betty's going to give permission to speak with me on their account, and I want to ask some questions. And it's funny because I'll ask, hey, what are the fees on this account? What's the mortality and expense fee? Because that's the fee for the life insurance on the variable annuity. And they'll say, oh, it's 1.25%. And I'll ask, is there any other fees in the account? No, just the 1.25%. I'm like, well, what about the mutual fund fees or the sub-account fees? And they're like, oh yeah, well, of course they have fees. I'm like, what's the average fee? 1%, and I'm like, well, is there an admin fee annually? Yeah, that's 0.15, or it's a dollar amount sometimes. And then I'll ask, is there any riders on here? And maybe there's an income rider or an extra death benefit rider, another 1%. So it's not uncommon for me to be sitting across the table from a prospective client.
And you're adding up all of these fees.
And their eyebrows are raised, and they're like, wow. And it's not uncommon for them to think they're paying 1.25% in fees, and they're really paying closer to 3 or 4% in fees. Well, if you lose 20% of the market and you're paying 4% in fees on top of it, you might not think annuities are a great idea either. But there's other types of annuities that don't have those fees, that don't have the risk. So again, I always say, my wife hates the saying, but I use it all the time. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? It's an old saying that I learned from my grandfather. But it's really important to understand what you have, what's inside there. And a lot of times people think they know, but they're not real sure. And that's a good reason to give us a call and to come in and talk with us.
Yeah, it's a little unfair because folks don't always know all of the questions to ask. I'm so glad that you're talking about them today, because I don't know if a lot of our regular public is going to ask, what is the mortality and expense ratio, and what does it cost for the funds that are inside there? Are there other administrative fees? If anything, I think a lot of viewers out there are probably aware of surrender charges. But again, that's why you come up with a plan. If you're going to use something for a 5-year or 7-year contract, you're not putting all of somebody's savings into that. That just might be a tool for a specific function, whether it's for income later down the road or growth.
And correct. And sometimes even if they have those plans and they're paying that 3 or 4% fees, even if they have surrender charges, sometimes we're able to rescue them out of those plans. Maybe put them into a different type of annuity that's more appropriate for them, that has 0 or lower fees, and maybe has a bonus that will make up the surrender charge. And by the way, it might have higher interest rates than what some of the annuities had when they first investigated them and was looking at them. So again, just having that conversation is very important.
Real quick here, we know that, because we just talked about it on the radio show recently, that interest rates have come down towards the end of the year here. There might be even a couple of more. Do you think the great bull run on some great income and interest rate annuities is over with? Is there still time to act right now to kind of review what you have?
Well, I think right now is the time to act. I mean, they're not going to go away, but some of those payout factors that they use are tied to interest rates. So it may take more money to get more income later down the road than it does today. So it's very important if that's something they're looking to do. Again, that's another reason to get that clock started, because the longer that you're in these plans, the more income that they will pay out. So if you're not sure, give us a call. We'd love you to come in and sit down with us, with myself or a member of my team. Just give us a call, 844-878-1293. There's no cost, no obligation, and no pressure. Just to come in and have a conversation. We can call on your 401k, find out if it is eligible for an in-service rollover. If you have one of those variable annuities and you're unsure about the fees or if it's the appropriate product for you, we can help you figure that out. We can call and get those answers for you. On top of that, we're offering our on-track retirement report. If you come in, we'll sit down and we'll look at what your income plan is and make sure that you have a written income plan that's going to stand the test of time. We can look at what the fees are in your portfolio. Are you paying any excessive fees? Is there anything that we can do to help you save on taxes now or in the future? We're going to look at all of these things for no cost, no obligation, no pressure. Just give us a call. 844-878-1293.
More with Jerry Means, financial advisor, right after this. By the way, if you want to call that phone number, you can do that, or you can open up your phone to the camera function and point it at this QR code, click on it, and you can schedule your on-track retirement review right there as well. We'll be right back after this.
Smart investors know that when the markets shift, their strategy should too. Have you looked at how today's interest rates can impact your retirement? The rise in rates relative to recent years means better options for your savings. But if your advisor hasn't talked to you about repositioning your assets, you could be missing a major opportunity. At Means Financial Group, we help you stay ahead of the curve. So call today for a free, no obligation consultation to take control of your retirement.
Welcome back. You are here with financial advisor Jerry Means. He is the founder of the Means Financial Group. Today, we want to make sure that you don't make mistakes with your retirement planning. The thing is, a lot of us are using tax-deferred accounts. We've discussed this many times before for 4.5 decades, since about 1979 when we discovered the 401k tax code. A lot of us are saving tax-deferred. But you're saying that there's other ways that we can save. There's our Roth IRA, Roth 401k, maybe even Roth conversion. Can you take us through those?
Yeah, like you said, people have come in and they're always tax deferred heavy when they come in, always. The great thing about 401ks and 403bs, any type of retirement plan like that, is it's automatic savings, right? It comes out of your check, goes right into the plan, kind of out of sight, out of mind, and it continues to grow. But when the Roth IRA was established and the Roth 401ks back in the 90s, people weren't really paying a lot of attention to it at first. Now it gets a lot more attention, but people are trying to catch up in them. But what they don't understand is they can also do Roth conversions, where they can take some of that tax-deferred money, convert it into tax-free money. Now they're going to pay some taxes to do that, so you don't want to do it all at once. You want to do it with a system, and we sit down and we help people structure that so they're not hit with things like IRMA. IRMA is a surcharge on your Medicare premiums. For example, if you're starting to draw your Medicare this year in 2025, they look back 2 years, so they're going to look at your 2023 income. So a lot of times we have to time that. You might want to do the conversion after you start your Social Security, or excuse me, your Medicare, so that you don't get hit with that IRMA. So we help people try to figure out what's the right amount to do that. And we do have a tool called meantaxes.com that people can click on the QR code, or they can go to the website. They can enter in how much tax deferred money that they have. And then we can look at, okay, if I convert everything at once, here's how much taxes will we do. Here's what it's going to look like over time. So it's a starting point, and it's a no cost, no obligation, free report, comes right to their email. But I recommend that once they get the report, that they call us with any questions that they have, or come in and let us do a longer version of that report and really explain it to them and put a strategy together after we ask about their other investments and income and sort of things like that.
This tool is great. You can literally start using this right now. You can open up another browser. If you got your phone, if you got a tablet sitting next to you, type in meantaxes.com, or you can scan the QR code with your phone, and it'll take you right there for you. A handful of simple inputs, and you will get this report right away. I'm sorry, I've done some of those car insurance ones where you're scrolling through and you're looking for car insurance, and you're putting in your age and where you live and all that stuff, and you get all of this stuff and then no information. You get an email that says, now click on this for us to call you. That's not this tool. Go to meantaxes.com, put in what you feel that you have saved in tax-deferred accounts, what you think your tax rate is. You will get your report right away. And here's the difference. And we like CPAs, we like tax people, we like talking about taxes. Jerry does. But most folks go into their CPA and say, I want to pay as little in taxes this year as possible. We say that year after year after year. And I think that's a great way for CPAs to be able to keep their clients. Because the last thing that someone wants to do is say, well, you actually owe $40,000 in taxes this year. So, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
The difference here is controlling how much you do pay in taxes or don't pay in taxes later in retirement, right?
That's correct. That's correct. So, I mean, the accountant's job is really to, like you said, to have them have to pay as little in that year. So often they'll tell them, put more money into your IRA, put more money into your 401k. It'll reduce your income and you'll pay less taxes. Well, that's great, but you're just kicking the can down the road. I mean, if you have all of your money in a qualified plan, you have a partner in that plan, and it's Uncle Sam, and they're going to get their portion of it one way or the other eventually. So what we do is I try to get people to do diversified buckets. You want to have some money after taxes. You do want to get some tax deferral because that tax deferred compounding is great. It helps you with your employment income. We do believe you should put some money in the tax deferred accounts, but so many people are not putting money into their Roth 401ks. I mean, now that 401ks are offering the Roth inside of them, I've had a lot of people that I've talked to switch over and not be putting so much into the tax deferred and putting it into the tax free bucket. And they're not going to see that this year. It's not that instant gratification, but they're going to see it down the road, and they're going to thank me and remember that I told them to do that.
Yeah. This is also a conversation. I think we've talked to people before. Say, do you have a Roth 401k at work? And it's either, I don't know, or I don't think so. I do believe there was legislation that came out about 6 months ago that said from now on, 401k providers are supposed to have some version of a Roth option there. So again, maybe you can help with that phone call and try to help figure out where they should be saving. Is it worth using a Roth 401k if you're 60, 61 years old?
100%. And I'm glad you brought that up, Spike, because that's a big misconception. People say, well, it's too late now, right? I mean, I'm not going to get that tax deferred growth. And I have to remind them, hey, if you have $1 million, you're not going to spend that your first year in retirement, right? Some of that money you're going to spend it throughout retirement. And if you're living 25, 30 years in retirement, if we start a Roth right now, maybe we don't touch that money for 10, 15 years. It's the back end of your retirement. By the way, which when tax codes might go through the roof. I mean, anyone out there that's looking at the national debt, I mean, we've got a reprieve on these tax rates till at least 2028. But going forward after that, at some point down the road, they may come after and want to raise more taxes, or raise the tax rates up. And so who knows 20 years from now what tax rates are? Wouldn't it be great to have a tax-free bucket, even though you planned it at age 60, and now at age 70, 75, you've got this tax-free bucket when when tax rates do go up. So it's a great tool. Everyone should have one.
Would you say something to think about is that we also right now have one of the largest personal tax deductions at about $15,000 a piece, over $30,000 married filing jointly. So that's also, you can put up to $30,500 into your retirement account. So if it's a Roth 401k, you don't have to do all of that, but you're getting a pretty large personal tax deduction. Why not put a little bit of Roth in there? Does that kind of balance each other out?
Yeah, 100%. And believe it or not, I see some people that aren't using all of their standard deduction. And now we have the senior deduction, right? Another $6,000 or $12,000 if you're married on top of that. So maybe they're not filling that whole deduction. That's a good time to either make a withdrawal from your deferred accounts or to do a conversion of your deferred accounts. You may be able to do it without paying any taxes.
All right, Jerry, help me out. Let's see if I got it all. Your income plan and review, your investment and risk review, tax review, Social Security discussion, estate planning, healthcare selections, Medicare. This is all part of the On Track Retirement Review.
That is true. Yep.
All right, folks, you can call that phone number right now and get started on all of that, literally at no cost to you. Dial 844-878-1293. Just say, I want to get started on my own On Track Retirement Report. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next time.